Hey, what's up, guys? It's Bakes here, and thank you for joining me for day number 9 of my 31 Days of Horror. This is where I'm watching and reviewing 31 different horror movies over 31 days, all through the month of October till we get to Halloween. Today's movie is a first time watch. I'd never seen this movie before. It's one that I did know a little bit about just because it's a movie that's been around the block for a while. It's a film from the 60s, a Hammer horror production, so not exactly one that's skipped people's radar, but like I said, going into this one was a first time watch for myself. Today's movie, from the year 1961 to be specific, a Hammer horror production, like I said, it is The Curse of the Werewolf. So like I said, first time watch for myself. I knew a little bit about this movie before going into it, but most of the stuff that I knew was just sort of general knowledge around the film, not really plot details. I just knew things like Oliver Reed playing Leon slash the werewolf, it being a Hammer horror production, it being one of the better werewolf Hammer horror productions from this time. So just general knowledge, things like that, not really things to do with the plot and what have you. So I was keen to get into this one, and before we get into my thoughts of it, let's quickly run through the plot. So like I said, Hammer horror production. So that normally means a UK based crew and cast and things like that, if you're unaware. This movie takes place in 18th century Spain, which it doesn't do a whole ton to make you feel like you're in Spain. I guess some of the costumes, landscapes, again, because it's mostly a UK cast and production, not a lot of people speak Spanish. The most you'll really get is people getting called senor and senorita, but that's about it. Doesn't do a very good job at immersing you in Spain, but I guess you can kind of feel that sense somewhat. But we're basically following an orphaned boy who is taken in after his mother dies. The orphaned boy is Leon. And he is born with the curse of being a werewolf. I won't go too much into that detail because it's actually kind of a long process to get to that point. But like I said, he's orphaned off and taken in by another family. It's managed at a young age, when he first starts turning into this werewolf, but it gets to a certain point where he's getting older now, has to start his own life, and take care of himself, and after some issues start to arise again, they have to figure out what they're going to do about his transformation into this werewolf. So that's pretty much the plot that we have for this movie. Getting into my thoughts of Curse of the Werewolf. The setup to this movie is actually kind of complex, which I hinted at before, because there's this whole process of characters coming in and out of the film and information that is a lot to take in within the first maybe 20-25 minutes of this movie, which really caught me off guard. Like I said, characters coming in and out, jumping forward in time and then going back to certain memories and things like that. Like the first 20-25 minutes really is just set up till we get to the main story and plot of what's going on here. The story that we do follow in this film probably really gets going at about the 30-minute mark, which again sort of just caught me off guard. I didn't really expect all this setup, especially with older films sometimes. The runtimes are normally pretty short and they keep the story and what's going on pretty simple and try to not make it too complex. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing with this movie. It just caught me off guard. I expected it to be a very simple, someone gets bitten by a werewolf and now they have this curse and that's it. But no, there's actually a lot of context and setup and things going on in the early part of this movie to really get you into the meat and potatoes of this story. Now, this is going to sound like a very niche point that I'm giving for the movie, but it's something that's always kind of irked me whenever it pops up in the title of a movie but doesn't play into the narrative. But I really enjoyed the fact that the word curse actually does play into the story in this movie. And again, I know that sounds very niche, but that many times I've watched a movie where it's called Curse of something or Curse is in the title, but it just doesn't play into the narrative. Like, curse is not a very complex word to understand. I'm sure if I walked into a room of 10 people, all of them would be able to tell me what a curse is. But that many times you see it in the title of a horror movie and it just doesn't play into the story. It really bugs me, but I enjoy the fact that curse actually does play into the narrative very strongly in this movie. This affliction of being born with this curse, being a werewolf, and how heartbreaking it is to want to be a normal guy, but every full moon you're turning into this monster. Like, I just really enjoy how much the word curse actually plays into this narrative, and it comes across in the scenes very well also. There's this one scene where Leon, when he's older, his love interest comes into the room and he's off in the shadows transforming, and he's screaming, go away, and you can hear the emotion in his voice and the tears swelling up in his eyes, and she doesn't know what's going on, but again, it just, you are so convinced that this is a curse, and he's like really portraying it well. It's really well done in the story, but then also really well done by Oliver Reed to put that emotion across within his character, so that's a big win. Even the opening credits really gets the word curse across. Again, films of this time, it's very typical to have a long opening credit sequence, and the backdrop of it is a close-up of his eyes while he's in his werewolf form, and tears running out of his eyes, and it just really convinces you within the first 2 minutes. You're like, fuck, this guy hates this curse, like there's no pros about it, he just wants to be a normal guy. And you're watching these opening credits roll, and just in the background you're watching this beast crying, and it's like, okay, this is like really cool, good job on that. And again, Oliver Reed, who plays Leon, he does a fantastic job, both when he's playing his human side, Leon, and when he is the werewolf. I think he does a very good job, sells his part well. The actor that they got to play the child version of him, because like I said, early in the movie, you're following this long setup, of him dealing with this, and, characters coming in and out, like I said, and they have a child version playing him. One of the best castings I've ever fucking seen, because it's almost like if you said you put Oliver Reed in a time machine and took him back to child form, I'd be convinced that was him. They look so identical, so great casting there, and the kid does a good job acting as well. The design of the werewolf is very typical Wolfman design, especially of this era. We've gotten used to, designs becoming a lot more like down on all fours, like American Werewolf in London and things like that. Around this era, it was very typical to have like standing on two legs, cover them in fur, put pointy ears on their head and chuck in some fangs. So it's nothing reinventing the wheel here, but the design does look good. Most of the effects and makeup do look pretty good for this whole movie, but yeah, definitely highlighted on the werewolf. It's kind of funny that it looks better on the werewolf than the human characters, as in the human characters in this movie, if you want them to look older, all they do is just paint their face white. That just kept making me laugh. Like, as I said, there's a big time jump from early in the movie to later in the film. So early on, they just look normal. You want to show that they've aged. The effect crew just chuck some fucking white makeup on their face, and that was making me laugh, but that was pretty cool. All the women in this movie are fucking stunning, and this is a common occurrence whenever I'm talking about movies from the 60s and earlier. I've always fucking said, I swear to God, women of this time were just fucking more beautiful. Absolutely stunning, breathtaking, and again, the women cast in this movie do not disappoint. Great performances, but every time they come on screen, like, I'm like catching my breath there. I'm like, these are fucking beautiful women. The love interest in this movie, absolutely stunning, but the one that like really took my breath away and was literally the embodiment of stunning was the mute servant, who was sort of revealed to be Leon's mum. I can't remember the actress's name. I think that's her on the back. Yvonne Romaine, that's her picture there. She was like breathtaking, and the thing is, I've actually seen her in a few movies before. The last time I spoke about her on my channel was when I did a review of the movie Devil Doll, and I said the same thing there. I'm like, she is fucking stunning. And if you've seen her, not to sound like a creep or anything, but she's got like a fair set of lungs on her as well, if you know what I mean. Like, when she first popped up in this movie, I'm like, oh my god, it's her again. She is fucking beautiful. She is beautiful. Like, put me in a time machine right now. I need to go speak to her. I wouldn't stand a chance, but she is beautiful. And the funniest thing is, at the start of the movie, there's actually narration going on just to sort of help you follow along with the setup and whatever. And when we first meet her character, she's a child and she's working as a servant, helping her father. And then they go, over time, she has grown up, and then it shows her in, her older form, played by, I think it's Yvonne Romaine. And literally, as I said, she's quite chesty, and I just went, damn. Like, I think out loud I said, damn, she definitely did grow up, because she was fucking stunning. But I'm going to stop saying that now, because I'm sounding more and more like a creep, but all the women in this movie are absolutely fucking beautiful. There was moments that really surprised me with how far this movie went in terms of maybe violence, I guess is the best way to go. There's some like surprising blood, and I'll use the term gore loosely because the gore isn't too full on. But like the one scene that comes to mind is where he attacks the woman who was trying to get with him in the bar and whatever. Like the blood there, I was like, fuck, that's like a lot of blood. And then they show like some cuts along her neck and chest and whatever. I'm like, shit, look, I didn't expect that. It's nothing like too full on from today's standards, but I was like, fuck, that actually surprised me. There's also another scene later on, it's sort of in the climax of the movie where the townspeople are trying to track him down and get him. He gets this hay bale that is lit on fire and he throws it down onto the townspeople. And I literally think he throws it down onto the townspeople. I think there's just random background characters and people filling in the cars down on the street. And I swear to God, this hay bale on fire literally lands on them. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, there was no fucking stunt coordination back there at all. They're just like, Oliver, please just pick this up and throw it on him. And like, I was like caught off guard by that scene. I'm like, holy fuck, I think he just killed someone. That was awesome. I don't know, like, I think that's all I pretty much want to say about this movie. It's not perfect, but it was an enjoyable first-time watch for sure. I can see this one being a movie that grows on me the more times I watch it. I think it just being the first time going into it, I had expectations, and honestly, the expectations were thrown off, and I was like, okay, this is something different, and it took me a little bit to catch up from where my expectations were. And to be completely honest, it actually wasn't a great first-time watching environment. Like, I went downstairs and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna chuck this on, and I felt wide awake, but I felt myself like dozing off, and then I kept like going, oh fuck it, like I might as well just start it again, because that was happening pretty early on in the film, and I just kept going back and starting again. It wasn't like the greatest first time watching environment, and I should have been a bit more switched on at first, but once I was locked in, yeah, I enjoyed this one. So Curse of the Werewolf from 1961, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Enjoyable movie. So there we go, guys. It was good to get into some Hammer horror, especially from around this time, because I can't even remember the last Hammer horror movie I watched, but yeah, it was good to get into this one. Like I said, I'd heard good things about this movie. It's sort of known as being one of the better Hammer horror werewolf movies of this time, so I was super excited to get into it. And yeah, I think I was like really surprised with how the narrative and setup and everything caught me off guard, but once I caught up with what was going on, I was really deeply immersed in this one. So thank you for joining me for today's 31 Days of Horror episode, day number, 9. I'll see you tomorrow for day number 10, which is a classic, iconic horror movie. If you've been following the list, you'll know what it is, but I'll see you tomorrow for that film.